I've never seen anyone do their eyebrows like this. I think it's like a mixture of a lot of different techniques, but also like something I've never seen before. So I hope it's helpful. So all you need is a brow pen. Looks like an eyeliner. This one's really dark. Mine's in the shade black. And you need a spoolie that's like dense, if that makes sense. The bristles are a little bit harder, quite firm, and they're not long. This is going to be the best type of blending spoolie, okay? So you don't want those big fluffy ones. You want a dense, short one. As most of you guys know, I have very uneven eyebrows, as most people do. You probably can't even tell right now. I'm just being dramatic about it. But the first thing I do is even out the most uneven parts of my eyebrows. So that helps me gauge a lot better how I'm gonna fill them in and keeps them looking even at the end, because then it kind of like the unevenness really offsets your eye while you're filling them in. So you want to kind of address that first. So this eyebrow is a lot more straight and higher up than this brow. It's more curved and lower down naturally, and the hairs grow upwards here and they grow sideways here. So the way I'm going to address that is, first of all, start drawing the arch a little bit lower, and by starting at the end, I'm gonna be able to round out my eyebrow better. And when you start at the front, it helps you sharpen it out. I don't know why, it's just the way your hand moves, and the eyebrow just looks like that in the end. So I don't know how to explain that one. Take the spoolie and just move all the hairs away from where I'm drawing, and just do really, really light strokes. I'm basically trying my best to draw hairs here. And my eyebrows are a little shorter than I'd like, so I like to lengthen them, but I'm not lengthening just yet. I'm just moving the hairs out the way like that, and then drawing little hairs. What I'm essentially doing now is making it look like there's one line going through, like how we used to do in 2016. We used to carve out below the brow, but this is with a pen. It's more precise and more natural looking, and I'm also making sure I move my hairs out the way so I can see where the sparse bits actually are, and I'm not overdoing it. I'm just making it look like my eyebrow hairs grow very densely and that I've been able to shape them perfectly because there's hair in all the places I want, which is so not true. And then I always want to make sure that the hair up to the arch, at least, that the hair here is higher up than the hair here. So whatever hair is on this side of a hair should in theory be higher up than the hair on this side. That just basically is a fancy way of saying that the line's gonna go like this and not like this. So that was such a silly way to say it, but I hope it made sense. So I'm always just gonna use the way I've done my brows. I do them specifically so I can draw them nicely, and I'm gonna use that as my guide. Now I'm just blending out a little bit before I get to the front. The front here is also higher up than the front here. It may not look like it right now, but it is. And I'm just gonna really lightly take the tip of the pen and feather in some hairs here, and keep paying attention to the bottom. Really lightly draw hairs slightly below where the hairs actually sit, but not too far, and definitely don't want that part to be harsh. And it creates a nice, see, when I did it from the back, it created a nice little like almost a Nike tick kind of shape to the brow, which I love, but obviously it's not actually a Nike tick. I just love this shape of like the roundness at the bottom and this swooping in a tiny bit at the front rather than just it's a great little shape. Okay, now I'm gonna make this tail higher up. So I'm just gonna do the opposite of what I just did. And when I do each brow, I'm gonna really focus my intention on how I'm drawing the hairs. So my intention when I'm drawing hairs here is to go to the side, and my intention to draw hairs when I'm going here is to grow more upwards. But obviously I can't do these exactly upwards because they're not upwards here either. But just the intention of drawing the hairs differently on each side will give you a subtle difference at the end that will make them look more even. It's not something that's super intentional, but kind of in the back of your head as you're drawing the hairs. And that's how you make it not look crazy, but also kind of even them out without really even trying. I like to, when I'm doing the top especially, look down, and then I can see exactly the unevenness. I can see I drew this one a little bit too high, and I want to do it a little bit more straight here, just like the other side, and really lightly draw the top hairs, because these hairs are very light on top here for me. I don't want to make it look clownish and like harsh on the top, because that's not how my brows are, and that's not how a lot of people's brows are. So now that I can feel like they're a little bit more matched up on the tops of the arches, which is my biggest concern on this side, I can kind of now visually see how I want to do my brows without like doing this one perfectly and this one perfectly, looking at them at the same time and being like they're completely different. So now I can see how much I want to do to make my brows look good. I'm gonna just make this a little bit more defined on the bottom, because here I've made it more defined just naturally by just doing my brows. And I'm kind of laying the pen flat. I'm not using the very tip of it, so it kind of does the work for me and creates that hair, but really lightly. And I want the tip to be at the bottom because it's tapered. The thinnest part of the tip is gonna be where I want the thinnest part of the hair to be. So I really want to make the front of the brow a little bit more squared off than round, just because this one is more squared off. So I'm gonna, again, it's just an intention in the back of your mind while doing whatever you think looks nice at the same time, because if that's your like main goal, then it's just gonna look too intense, especially when working with a brow pen. So this is all about being very subtle, because that subtle thing in the back of your mind will play out way more intensely than you expect with a brow pen. So just really lightly, little strokes going upwards, because again, the front hairs grow to the side, which gives it that more rounded off appearance. These ones go up, which gives it more squared off appearance. There we go. Brush, 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 and that makes it look more natural. Again, the main point of doing the hairs all throughout here, like the reason I didn't just do my sparse bits, is because I want the bottom to look a little bit more defined and clean. So I've been like drawing hairs there, but for a lot of people, their hairs just grow the right way. You don't really need to do that. Next biggest disparity I'm seeing is the top here. It's harder to see on camera, but looks more defined than the top here, obviously because I filled that in already and not this one. So I'm just gonna match this to how I did this one. And again, I have a lot of hairs up here, but they're really light. You can only just see them. So I kind of already have that guidance because I pluck my brows intentionally. So now I just know where to do the hairs and just basically fill in that part that's a little bit more sparse, but is already mapped out for me. And my intention is to bring this arch a little bit more forward, because this one's more forward and I like the way it looks this way more. So looking down so I can match them best and really lightly filling it in. And I like there to be a little bit of a dip in this area, so I don't fill this area in too much. It is a little bit sparse, but again, I don't like very sharp brows. I like a little like waves in the right places, of course, in them, and that gives them a really cool, like sophisticated shape, I think. But I'm careful not to draw these too high, because then it's gonna offset the look of the other one, which I've already drawn as high as I would like. And if I draw this any higher, I'm gonna have to draw this higher, then it's just gonna look like I have just these huge arches, which is so not cute, and I do that a lot of the time by accident. And I'm like literally, I'm barely touching my skin with the pen. Okay, now I'm gonna draw them up. Brush them up. Some of this pen came up way too high here. And when I look down is when I can see how uneven the bottom is. This is looking a little bit too sharp for me. So when you want to even out the bottom, look up. You want to even out the top, look down. Imagine me doing this every morning, guys. This is the only reason I take long to get ready is my eyebrows, but I do kind of love the process. And this is like super meticulous and technical, which obviously no one has to do, but hopefully you can take some of the tips. Now, this is my least favorite brow. And so I'm gonna start with this when I do the tail. When I look at the brow from the side is when I think like, well, like I don't like how that looks, so I'm gonna fix it up. What I can see here is I need more hairs here, a little bit more there. And before I draw the tail, I'm gonna think, when I draw this tail, I need to remember that the goal is to make this tail lower because the other one is lower. So when I'm drawing it lower and doing whatever just kind of looks good from this angle. So I'm drawing it outwards, but then I want to look down and I can see it has this weird uptick. So I can fix that by adding some more hairs here to round off the tail end. And then I'm going to continue and go a little bit more downwards because whenever I look down like this, I don't want that uptick to come back. So I can even just go like this and do all my heads down. And that kind of gives me this nice shape that I'm left with. Just by following these techniques and keeping these things in mind, it kind of leads you to this shape that I really love. I do want to do the same thing here and make it look pretty just like the other one. But I also have to say at the same time, make it look even. So I'm constantly gonna reference, do the shape I want, but the way that I'll get there is through drawing the hairs higher up. I really hope this doesn't sound insane and it actually makes sense. So now I'm just doing it faster, but I'm referencing both brows. My eyes are going between the two. And there we have the shape.